Why you're stuck? Most people think they're stuck because life is hard. That's not it. They're stuck because they're waiting to feel ready, waiting for clarity, waiting for confidence, waiting for the perfect moment where fear disappears and motivation shows up on time. But here's the truth nobody likes to hear. Stuck is not a condition, it's a decision. You don't get unstuck by thinking your way forward. You get unstuck by moving while unsure. Stuck happens when comfort becomes a cage, when the familiar feels safer than the unknown, even if the familiar is slowly draining you. You replay the same conversations. You rehearse the same regrets. You scroll, you plan, you promise yourself soon. But momentum doesn't come from certainty. It comes from permission. Permission to be bad at the next step. Permission to fail forward. Permission to act without applause. If you've been stuck, it's not because you're broken. It's because you've been negotiating with fear instead of interrupting it. And fear doesn't need to be defeated. It just needs to be ignored long enough for movement to begin. How to get unstuck. Getting unstuck is not a dramatic reinvention. It's not quitting everything and moving to a mountain. It's smaller than that and harder. You get unstuck by lowering the bar and raising the consistency. One uncomfortable action, one honest conversation, one decision you've been avoiding because it makes your chest tighten. Momentum doesn't come from massive change. It comes from daily defiance. Defying the urge to wait one more day. Stop asking, what's the right move? Start asking, what's the next move? Because clarity follows action, confidence follows effort, and courage shows up after you step, not before. You don't need motivation. You need a schedule. You don't need a sign. You need a start. And here's the shift that changes everything. Progress doesn't come from feeling unstuck. Feeling unstuck comes from making progress. Move first, adjust later. That's how you break the cycle. That's how you reclaim momentum. That's how you get unstuck. How to stay unstuck. Getting unstuck is a moment. Staying unstuck is a lifestyle. Because the truth is, you don't fall back into being stuck. You drift there. You skip the small habits. You stop telling the truth to yourself. You start negotiating with comfort again. Staying unstuck means you stop romanticizing rest that turns into avoidance. You stop calling distraction self-care. You stop waiting to feel inspired before you move. Here's the rule. If it's working, don't stop doing it just because it's boring. Most people abandon progress because it doesn't feel exciting anymore. But boring is where momentum lives. Staying unstuck requires non-negotiables, a daily action that moves your life forward even when it's inconvenient, a weekly check-in where you ask, where am I lying to myself? And one habit that keeps you uncomfortable on purpose, because comfort is sneaky. It doesn't attack you, it sedates you. You don't need more breakthroughs. You need maintenance. Do the work on the good days. Do it especially on the quiet days, because the goal isn't to never get stuck again. The goal is to recognize it faster and refuse to unpack there. That's how you stay unstuck.